whether it's a number thing or an employee number, you hit these certain points where they're just pain points. And we've gone through several of those, and I feel like we're kind of at one right now as well. Everyone, I feel like it's a different way to navigate it. I think at this point for us, it's just not having the systems in place. And we've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and it's been a lot of wheels turning, but we haven't been, documenting stuff to get our processes in place. So I think that has been the biggest struggle. It's a little disorganization, just kind of moving with emotions. So I've kind of realized, slow down, focus on, the behind the scenes, get some stuff in place, and then we can go back into regrowth.
Would you say that's a little bit like decoupling the dependency of the operations from your input? Is that kind of?
Yeah, 100%. It's hard. Yeah. I'm extremely bad about letting go of things.
Yeah.
I try to, hold tabs on everything, and I've realized, hey, maybe I'm not the best at everything. I need to let some of this stuff go. So we're definitely working on that.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Cost of Doing Business show. Today, I find myself in Nashville, Tennessee. We're a little west of Nashville right now. Yep. But I'm here with Hunter Hutchinson from Haven Outdoor.
Yep.
You got the rebrand there recently.
Yep.
But thank you for having me.
Yeah,
and we're sitting here in his backyard, which is beautiful. Is where you said you were doing like more or less a learning project with your guys, right?
Yeah, 100%. It kind of started as like, hey, we're going to learn how to build retaining walls and do the pavers and all the little features, lights, and then it kind of evolved pretty quickly. We took a lot longer to get it completed than I expected, but
that's how backyard project or your own backyard projects tend to go.
Yeah, 100%. So
yeah. Well, give us a little intro. How long have you been in the industry? How'd you get started?
Yeah.
What's your business look like now?
Yeah, so I guess we started at the tail end of 2013 in high school, just like, a lot of the stories, mowing yards out of mom and dad's, vehicles, barn equipment, all that. And, did that for several years, just very, just mowing accounts only. Then that slowly evolved into doing a lot of like landscape maintenance, probably year 5 or 6 is when we really started doing like installs, and that's where my brain started kind of shifting. Like, hey, this is something I want to do, long term. It's not just a kid mowing grass after school or whatever. And so we started doing the installs. I guess it would have been probably 18, 19.
Okay.
And then that quickly evolved into, hey, we not only want to do the plants, we want to be able to do the hardscapes, and now it's evolved into pools. I don't really know what motivated that. I think just, we're mowing yards and looking in at people redoing these backyards. Like, man, like, I want to be doing that. It's rewarding. It's something different every day. And at this point now, we're pretty much 100% project-based. We don't do a whole lot of, we do no reoccurring maintenance. And I would say our focus is now, pools and full outdoor living. So, turnkey backyard, essentially.
Yeah.
So really enjoying that and excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many guys do you have on a regular basis throughout the summer?
Yeah. So right now, this summer I would say we peaked at about 8 guys. We're currently at 6. I think this is like this is probably the level we're going to kind of stick at for a good, another year or two. We'll see where it goes. But we've been all over the place. I think at one point doing maintenance stuff, we peaked at 15 or 16 guys a few years ago, and we've kind of fine tuned it. And I think this is our sweet spot right now. It's comfortable for me to manage. It's I feel like it's not overloading the crews. 2-man crews with a guy that can kind of float between the two depending on who needs it, or we can I can jump in the field and we can go into 3 crews. And then also have Maddie, who helps in the office, just with permitting and all the behind the scenes,
office
helping with SynkedUP. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Where do you like to spend your time?
It changes every day, it seems like, but I think I truly enjoy like the behind the scenes, the management, the sales. That's where I think I shine the most. But it's I still have the I get out in the field and I get super excited, and then I feel like I'll kind of stick myself there for a week. And I'm like, okay, I need to, focus on other things. So the guys, let them do what they're good at, and I'll, focus on the other things to help keep them fed and make sure everything's going good. So I don't know. I enjoy it all. I really do like being in the field, but I kind of realized that, I got to step out and work on the business if we want to continue growing this.
Yeah.
Work on the systems and stuff like that. Something I haven't done. I've for the last 8 or 9 years, I've been in the field almost every year for more than 50% of the time. This year is the first year I've really tried to step out a lot more and focus on the business.
Yeah,
So,
and I want to just highlight the one thing you said, which was keep them all fed or whatever. Keep them all like the guys that come to you and want to do an amazing job and give you their best. When they get work done, they need the next job, and
Yeah.
they need the processes and the equipment, all that ready to roll, permitting done, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it does. Like we've realized that, especially with the pools, like the permitting processes in some of these townships is a little difficult, and there's just a lot of like hoops we got to crawl through. And you, like you said, you miss an inspection, or you're late, or you don't have the permit pulled, or not all the materials are on site. I
Yeah.
mean, it really can stall things quick. And
Yeah.
then you run into this weird, like, hey, what are we going to do today? And so we're trying to stay ahead of that. So we always have, work to send the guys
Yeah.
to, and, constantly be selling and growing.
Yeah.
So.
Do you do all the sales currently?
Yeah, currently 100% of the sales. That's one of the, I've thought about the business a lot in the last few months, and I think for now that's something I am going to hold on to. I feel like I do pretty well at it. I'm able to, educate the customers along the way. I know, I've been doing both sides of it for a very long time. So this time I'm going to, I think, hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably put more responsibility on like the office manager to do more of the permitting and, helping with the SynkedUP, all that. Like, if we can offload some of that work to free me up to do a little bit more sales, I think it would make that process a little bit cleaner. So I really like getting designs out and estimates out really quick. As quick as possible. That makes sense. I think if you're 2 weeks behind on estimates, it kind of gives a bad taste in people's mouth.
I agree.
I don't think an instant estimate is necessarily the answer, but I think just a timely one is very important.
Well, when you're doing a full-on backyard like this, like instant is not hardly feasible.
No.
But, within
a reasonable time,
within a day or two or 3 or whatever, unless there's weird design things that you have to wait on. But I often say that your turnaround time has, on a quote, has almost more impact than the price itself.
Yeah.
Like if you say, well, I keep losing jobs because I'm too expensive, and maybe that's true. If your filtering process on your leads is not as robust as some, then yeah, that could happen. But when you're bidding work and you're the first one back with a bid, and the other guys, when you talk to a homeowner, one of the top complaints they have is, I can't get anybody to give me a quote. I can't get anybody to give me a call back or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so when you're the first one back, maybe the next guy gets one back after three weeks or 2 weeks or whatever, and the other two never give one ever at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, who do you think they're going to go with?
Yeah.
100%. It's like, even if you're, even if you're 10, 20, 30% more.
Yeah.
I have stories from my time at Tussey where we were winning jobs that were double and triple what competitors' quotes were.
Yeah.
So it's not, and that's not always the case. Not everybody has the money to do that, to be able to say, well, I'll do the quote that's double. But it's just the point is that that quote turnaround time says a lot about your professionalism.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a first indicator of what it's going to be like to work with you.
Yeah, 100%. It's like that first impression. And I generally try to provide, during the first sales meeting, like, hey, it's going to be roughly, 48 to 72 hours, and if we do that, it seems like, those are probably the jobs we're winning. If it's when you forget about them or push them off for 2 weeks, that's when I feel like they're not as motivated to work with you. And just like you said, I think that's a direct representation of like how the construction is probably going to go. If you're willing to push them off just for the estimate, what happens when the work gets there?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, it's definitely something we try to do. And like, I try to ask people feedback too. Like, I had a guy the other day, we're on the, third or fourth, site walk, and, he sent me a design from another company and this and that. And I finally just asked him, like, hey, what's the biggest holdup for you? Is it the design, the what's holding us up here, and he kind of explained like, man, you're very responsive and all that. And I keep, I've tried to go price shop it a little bit and see what other people have to offer, but I keep coming back to you because you're the quickest response. You're the only one willing to, do a turnkey where we're basically working with one company for all of this. Everyone else is, oh, we're only going to install the pool, or we're only going to do, this part, and you got to find other people for that. And so we're trying to provide a good experience for them to, I don't like the word like one-stop shop, because there's a lot of things, we're not good at that we're not going to do ourselves. But if we'll also use some subcontractors and stuff like that to give them that experience, So,
well, I think I like the word turnkey.
Yeah.
Because like one-stop shop sounds a little bit like jack of all trades, but turnkey is essentially more speaking to the client experience. Like what that guy was saying is essentially like, my life is going to be terrible if I hire these other guys.
Yeah.
With you, it's like, okay, I just know it's done.
Yeah.
And sure, you're. It doesn't mean that there's no subs on site. It just means that you're the one that's handling it.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're dealing with you, and the rest is taken care of.
Yeah. And I think that's one motivation where we started doing like the turnkey stuff, or that turnkey model, is for so many projects where we'd be doing the pavers or the landscaping around the pool, and I can't tell you how many times the customer would be like just extremely angry at the pool company. I think people probably deal with that all across the country, but I just feel like it's got to be a better experience when someone's willing to come in there and just, set your pool, and then you're swimming within a few weeks after that, because it's, we're handling the whole thing. I don't want this job to drag out any longer than a homeowner, and I feel like we're able to manage that very well at the time. And I just don't understand, why other companies would want to set the pool and run away and just leave them in a mess.
I don't know. It is, it's just a different business model.
Yeah, it is. And I know there's different, some people are in it for different reasons. And for me, it's like, I want, obviously we want to make money along the way, but I want it to be a spot where people are going to create memories for many years to come. And I want, when we leave there, it's like, hey, y'all are ready to swim, like no stress, you're ready to go.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when you do manage the whole job, you get to have so much more artistic or creative control. And even just like, it's crazy how the same design, the same whatever, when it's done by a company that does do turnkey versus a company that's like, oh, you're the pool guy, I'm the patio guy, you're the landscaping guy, or whatever. Like, it just doesn't, same design, same like scope of work, but it just doesn't come together in the same way. Like when you're the one controlling it, you can do so much more. I would say especially so when you do water features too, blended in with hardscapes, because like I always hated doing a water feature where we came in after the hardscape guys had left or whatever. Like, but when you can do all of it together, you can get much tighter integration and
it all integrates well. And it's like, with the lights, so you can work in lights in the pavers and the caps. I feel like all that stuff almost has to go in at the same time, because if not, if you're trying to come in and retrofit things, it's either, if you're able to do it, it's probably not going to look as clean. You're going to be disrupting a lot of stuff to get to the final, anyway. So I agree. I think it's definitely, being able to at least manage all those things at once helps,
It gets a cleaner outcome.
Yeah, 100%.
It can tend to look a little disjointed or afterthought-ish, when it's done at different times.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's been a long time since I've been in the outside of Nashville in Tennessee. I'm really enjoying it, and you obviously have grown a nice business here in this area. Like, what would you describe this area like? Do you do work in Nashville? Do you stay more out on the suburbs, or?
Yeah, so I would say we're 20 minutes west of downtown Nashville.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of work kind of right within our little town here, but most of our work is like south of Nashville in the Franklin, Brentwood, College Grove area. We do some into Nashville as well. It just seems like we'll kind of find a little pocket. We'll work, within this area for 6 months, and then we'll get another big lead over here, and then we'll capture a few others around there. It seems like we just kind of, for some reason, like it would just kind of flow, because normally it's like you do one neighbor, then you get 3 calls for the others. But so our routes, that's the only negative thing I would say with us being where we are, kind of in the suburbs, is The commute is a little bit longer. I mean, we do travel from times 45 minutes to an hour to go to some of these, larger projects. But we are able to, be able to afford a little bit larger, shop space, and we have a lot more, room to grow there. If we're trying to be, smack in the middle of Nashville, just having a sufficient yard for what we need would be a little bit more expensive, increase our overhead. So we're pretty happy where we're at, I would say. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of hills over here. It's pretty rough terrain, but it's
beautiful.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I grew up here, and I'm excited to get to raise a family here, and it's
you have kids?
Really happy here. Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah,
so,
very nice.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest challenge you had to face in your experience?
It's a good question. I mean, I think it's just the growing pains. I mean, there's always, whether it's a number thing or an employee number, it's just you hit these certain points where they're just pain points. I don't know. I'm sure there's like an equation for like, hey, every business is going to hit it roughly here. And we've gone through several of those, and I feel like we're kind of at one right now as well. And every one, I feel like it's a different way to navigate it. Maybe I think at this point for us, it's just not having the systems in place. I mean, we've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and it's been a lot of wheels turning, but we haven't been, documenting stuff to get our processes in place. So I think that has been the biggest struggle, is just not, it's a little disorganization, just kind of moving with emotions. And so I've kind of realized, at this time, like, hey, we got to slow down, focus on, the behind the scenes, get some stuff in place, and then we can go back into regrowth. So that's probably been our biggest.
Would you say that's a little bit like decoupling the dependency of the operations from your input? Is that kind of?
Yeah, 100%. It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm extremely bad about letting go of things.
Yeah.
It's been my little baby for a long time, and I try to hold tabs on everything, and I've realized, hey, maybe I'm not the best at everything. I need to let some of this stuff go, so we're definitely working on that.
Yeah, no, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's definitely, it's not easy, and there's folks out there that decide to make the decision that they're not going to let go.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't say it's necessarily wrong to do so. It's just like, okay, well that produces a certain set of results. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
If that's what you want, then good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's what's bad is if you want these results, but you're stuck in this place and you don't want to do what it takes to let go, so these results can happen.
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone's got different goals too, and I don't think anyone's necessarily wrong.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of guys, that I look up to, Dan Preston and Richard Carroll. Like, those are two prime examples of, hey, you don't have to have a 20-person operation to do really awesome projects.
Dude, Dan Preston's work is
next level.
Signature. Yeah,
and it's like, sometimes I sit there and look at those guys, like, man, you can do amazing projects and be just fine with, a guy or two, and there's probably a lot less stress, I would say, in a sense. And
you trade stress, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think for me at this time, I do want to scale it to be, a little bit larger company. Just while I'm young and eager to, work hard still, I think I want to continue to grow, but just do it strategically.
Yeah.
I think just slow growth, and 10 years from now I might say, hey, we don't want to do 20, 30 pulls a year. We want to do 5 really awesome projects.
Like Craig Scheller stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where it'll go from here. Right now I'm excited to start growing again. I think that's our goal next year, is to do roughly 15 to 20 good projects, mostly involving pools. And we're going to lean on some subcontractors as well to help with some of that. And that's where we currently are. So we're going to build some processes out throughout the end of this year to kind of be prepared for that. We're going to hop back into marketing, and we've just been working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head though. Like, if you want to grow a business that doesn't need you to be there from 7 to 5 every day, every Monday through Friday, or to be involved in the field every day, or to be in production every day, or to be the one getting the permit every day, the ticket out of that demand is systems and processes.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're the only one that has the magic formula in your head of how you do it, nobody else. It's really difficult, put it that way, for someone else to come in and try to take responsibility and offload that. And there is that dichotomy. It's a battle. It's kind of an ebb and flow. But you see that thing of where, like, maybe an owner will hire someone and say, hey, you take care of this. But then the owner doesn't do a very good job at all of, like, saying, well, this is how I do it, and this is the process, and this is the teaching, you know. Yeah. And it's just like, no, you just do it. And it's like, well, you know, and people aren't mind readers. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so it's a tall order to be in your shoes and say, okay, this is where I want to go take the business. How do I think about the job prep process, or the job closeout process, or handling this lead, or
there's,
you know,
there's so many pieces too. And like, we started working with a consultant to kind of help. It was mainly pool focused. It's being new to it. I don't want to make the mistakes along the way, or try to, you know, prevent as many as possible. But he kind of opened the door to us to, like, hey, for you to truly grow this, like, there's gonna have to be systems in place. So we started creating, you know, basically a business like process manual. And so we're currently going through and writing down, you know, every step of the way from, you know, it's some stuff seems very, like, almost ridiculous to put on paper. But basically I want it to be to where, you know, hey, Weston, here's the Haven manual. Like, I'm out of here for a year. You can run this based on this. Like, it's gonna have every, you know, how to order every little fitting for, you know, the pool. Where do we get this? How does that ordering process look like? And we're gonna get really down to, like, the nitty gritty and every little piece. And it's, I mean, I truly think it's gonna be like over 100 pages. I mean, we're at 36 or 37 right now, and we're just getting started. So I think it's just very important to put it in. It's gonna be stuff we're not gonna have to go look at every day, but that way, if there is a question,
you
or
can
like,
refer back.
Yeah, or we're training someone new, like, hey, here's your, here's the manual. Like, we require you to go through this at the beginning. We want you to know what's going on with this company head to toe. And maybe it's, you know, when it gets that lengthy, maybe it's like, hey, here's the foreman focus area. Here's the stuff for the office manager. And that way everyone's in line with their roles and kind of how we're going to do things. I think eventually we'll take it a step further and do it all in, like, a video format, kind of like, hey, you know, an intro to, you know, kind of like y'all do for the SynkedUP stuff, you know, foreman track, you know, office manager track. And just kind of do a walkthrough of, like, every little thing that we can put on paper and video, just to make it more welcoming and say, hey, here's how we're doing business. Yeah. You know.
I mean, your brain's right on track, in my opinion. Like, your focus is right where it needs to be to do what you said you want to do, like, grow the business.
And it's frustrating because, you know, we've done it for 10 years and, like, it's just now clicking. I'm like, if we'd have done this year one, like, life would, you know, everything would be stress free. Like, it'd be probably a smooth sailing ship right now. You know, it says better now than never. But it's definitely been a lot of work. It takes a lot of deep thinking, and
it does.
I think it's not something you're gonna knock out in one day. And I've come to realize that it's, you know.
You know what I think it is? Because I'm doing the same thing in SynkedUP. And you know what I think it is? It becomes a part of your culture, who you are. Like, you're right. It's not a project that you set out to do and then complete. Yeah. It becomes part of your daily. Yeah. Like, oh, hey, you know what? That's not documented. Or, hey, you know what? That's outdated. Let's update that. You know. And have you ever read the book Buy Back Your Time?
I haven't.
I'll have to send you a copy, because you would really, that book would be really timely in the focus you have right now and what you're trying to do in your business. Like, and one of the things in that book, he talks about just documenting. He calls it playbooks. Yeah. Right. And what I kind of stole a lot of his ideas. Like, what he does is, like, he says every playbook, you know, needs to have a cadence. He calls it the 4 C's. I forget exactly what it is, but the cadence, like, how often does this get done? You could say, well, every time a job gets started, or this is a monthly process, or a weekly process, or a daily thing. Like, so the cadence is defined, right? What's the trigger, right? Yeah. Then it's the content, like, what is it? And then there's one thing I'm missing off the top of my head right now, but then the final thing is definition of done. Okay. Which has been huge for me, because it's like, it's easy for you to, like, do this, da-da-da-da-da. It's like, okay, I got it. It's like, well, hang on a second. Like, you know, have we clearly stated the definition of done? Like, it is not done until X is met. Yeah, that's very smart. Because there's a lot of things that can linger around for a long time. Yeah, because what can happen is you go through the motions of doing the checklist maybe, but maybe there's something that's holding it up or whatever. It's not done.
Yeah.
And so like, you could say, I don't know, I just spitball an idea. Like on a job closeout, when the job is done, you send out the final invoice.
Yeah.
Definition of done is last invoice has been collected. You have reviewed all the estimated versus actuals in SynkedUP and done an analysis and send a report to the foreman or whatever. Like definition of done. Because otherwise you could, I don't know, you're in the busyness of life, you collect the last invoice and you're rolling.
Yeah.
But we never told the crew what the outcome of that job was or whatever. Like it's
100%.
just just
now you want to brain thinking on other things we got to start implementing. No, I think that is important, and I think it is just constantly evolving. I mean, I think it's important. Everyone should probably do something similar, like just create. It doesn't have to be crazy intense. Maybe,
no, it's actually lightweight, but effective and used is more important than a lot of papers and not used.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about the other day. Like, I think once we get done with this, we're gonna have to make like a summarized version, or take, as someone's going through, make it not 100 pages, make it 15 pages or whatever it is, and then pull side documents for specific things.
Yeah, what you could do, you could kind of, if you did it in Google Docs or Notion or something electronic, you could do it like by role. Like, okay, here's everything that the foreman would do. Here's everything that the crew member would do. Here's everything the office admin would do. Which is actually, I like doing it by role, because then if you ever hire someone, it's like, bam, there it is.
Yeah, it's not information overload.
Exactly.
It's like we're not filling you in with all the stuff that you're not even responsible for.
Yep.
So.
And then the other thing that, this is a little easier for like the SynkedUP team where we're working in desks, but like with a crew out in the field, it's a little harder. But what I was gonna say is, one of the challenges when you do documentation is like, you do all this work to create it, but a year later you look up and it's collecting dust on a shelf.
Yeah.
So this is another idea I got from Dan Martell, which was, he said, every time you do the work of, let's say, I don't know, go back to that job closeout process. So every time you're closing out a job, you have that document up on your screen or on your phone or whatever, and you're just like looking down through, and it does two things. One, it's making sure you're not missing anything.
Right.
Two, it's like, oh, that's out of date, let me tweak that.
Yeah.
It keeps it fresh, and it's like, when you're doing the task, you have the document open.
Yeah.
That kind of prevents that deadness of creating something that never gets used.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I think that's going to be, it'll be an ongoing, something we're going to be working on for a long time, I know.
Yeah.
Probably for the life
That's
of the
why
business.
I call it more of a culture thing as opposed to a project that gets completed, because it doesn't really ever get completed. But like we were saying just this morning over there at your yard, it's a little bit like, when you get these processes to a point where most of the operations are flowing according to those processes, that's what will give you the mental freedom of just having the ability to just emotionally let go.
Sorry, my phone is going crazy. I don't know if something's going.
You need a minute?
It's a crane company.
Sorry. Take a minute. Go ahead and take care of that. You told me this is your second pool that you're setting in?
Second large one. We're like craning it over the house.
Okay.
Second like big crane, I would say. We've done probably around 10 or 12 now. But a lot of them we're able to set like an excavator or something like that. But like with it being, and a lot of them are smaller, like dip-sized pools. This is a big boy with the spillover spa and stuff going in. So when it's going over a house or getting craned way up in the air, it's a little bit there's a lot more going on the job site, I would say. So
it's interesting. When I called you a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, would this day work? And then it just happened that this was the day the crane was set up. And
well, originally the pool was supposed to come about 10 days sooner, but there was some freight, some issues with getting freight lined up. So they rescheduled to today, and then it literally dawned on me like 3 days ago, like, oh shoot, this is the same day. But I thought about it for like 10 minutes. I was like, what do I do? I can't cancel. I might cancel either one of these. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to train everyone up over the next couple of days, and this is going to be just fine. Yeah,
when you told me, I immediately felt bad. I was like, oh man, like that's stressful. No. But now I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe you'll look back at the end of today and be like, that was
20 years from now, I'm like, man, like that was my first pool I wasn't there for, like, so I'm excited. Excited and nervous, but I think more excited because I know they're gonna crush it.
That's awesome. And kudos to you for being willing to let go like that. That's hard. Yeah. So. Well, another question I like to ask on the podcast is, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think honestly, like one of the biggest ones was, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. It was from one of my ex-employers who recently just passed away, Mr. Stewart at Bolingbrook. But we were doing a project, and there was some stuff going on. He's like, look, you got to make sure you capture anything that changes, or you got to make sure you're estimating properly, because at the end of the day, you're working to make money and feed your family, feed your team, and all that. And like, for you to excel in this, you're going to have to make sure you're charging properly. And it didn't really click for probably a good few years, and then especially the talk in the industry started, know your numbers, and then SynkedUP came along, and then I think I just kind of go back to that, and I'm like, that's very true. Like, you want to make sure your pricing's in line, because it's very easy to undercharge or not be charging properly. And I think he kind of knew probably the route I was heading, just underbidding stuff essentially, and just not charging our worth. And I didn't really, like I said, I didn't think about it at the time, but that's probably some of the best advice I was ever given. Like, essentially know your numbers, charge right, and do good work, and it'll all come together. So if I had to put one nail on it, that'd probably be the one.
That's a good one, because like, it's so easy in the craziness of managing the logistics of a job site, and now the client wants to do this little change or whatever, and it's so easy to just be like, yeah, it's a cool, and sure, we'll throw it in the heat of the moment. You're like, you do it, but you absorb that cost and never bill for it. And or the other way that can happen is you are just kind of basing your pricing on something that's not your numbers. And what can happen is you might think like you're okay because you're in the same ballpark as your other competition on the other side of the city or whatever, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're okay. Because every business model is a little different. Every business is in a different stage in their journey. And even the same business, like, the pricing has to change with the expenses that the company incurs. Meaning, like, if over the course of a year you get some new equipment, you hire a couple new guys, you raise your overhead expenses somehow, like, all of that means that your pricing last year or even 30 days ago is not the same as it is today. And keeping that tightly connected, like, my expenses change, my pricing changes, which is the whole idea of budgeting and estimating, is key, because, like, at the end of the day, that money is oxygen. If you don't have it, you can't operate. You can't pay your guys. You can't pay your bills. And there's nothing worse than working hard all year and looking back and having nothing to show for it.
100%. And like, I will say, I mean, we started SynkedUP roughly probably 2 years ago or so. I think it was not long before the cruise line thing where we originally met. But I would say since that, I mean, we may have had like 1 or 2 little money scares between in that early stage of starting SynkedUP, but before that, I can't tell you how many times somewhere throughout the year I would get in a tight pinch for just to make payroll. I'd be like, man, like, if we don't get some money in, like, are we gonna be able to make payroll this week? And it was just, we weren't charging right, we weren't saving right, and now with SynkedUP, it's really alleviated a lot of financial stressors, because we know we're charging appropriately, and it just kind of makes you think about it a lot more. And just having a system like that, it's been, I mean, for us, it's been life-changing. And like, as we continue to implement it even further, I mean, it's gonna just continue to help us excel and grow, and it's been awesome.
Well, I love hearing that, and that's why I love doing this. Transforming from being in the crew all my life, doing outdoor projects just like this, to doing this now. It's like, it's hearing stories like that where hardworking people, working hard, doing good work, but just feel like they can't get ahead. Now it clicks, and now they get ahead. Is like, seeing that happen and seeing that transformation happen is what really that's what gets me up and at it every day.
Y'all, I mean, y'all got it going on, and I love how y'all are constantly evolving too. I mean, y'all, just how involved that you are as the owner, and I know that's not an easy task, but all the weekly webinars, and it's all, y'all have just the mountain of information to to learn from, to how to use the software and how to all the automations and templating and stuff like that is, something I'm very eager to really be, implementing even further, and just, watching the other day on one of the webinars, like how, there's a guy that kind of led it, walking through like all the Zapier integrations and
Raphael,
yeah. And like that was just like eye-opening. Like, man, like this is powerful, and it's going to continue just to get even better.
Yeah.
So I like where it's all going.
Well, I appreciate that. That's what we're going to be working on later today too.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. Yeah.
We're for the sake of you guys listening here on the podcast, we're going to be meeting. There'll be our second regional meetup of a bunch of SynkedUP users. I'm trying to do this thing where when I go into a city, like, okay, great, like who all's in this area? Let's all get together and like spend some time together and work on some templates or set an automation up for somebody and just help you get, okay, where are you at in your use of SynkedUP and how can we get you to another level up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good because like just learning from everybody. I mean, I think it's even cooler that you're bringing people in the same market, essentially together, because I don't view anyone as competition. There's plenty of work to go around.
Yeah.
Like, I think if anything, all of us kind of joining forces and helping each other is going to help, keep the market in line and make sure people aren't, everyone's charging appropriately and everyone's doing well, and keeping that bad, contractors tend to have a bad taste in people's mouth, and I think us all talking and helping each other through problems and stuff, it'll definitely help, reduce that in
I
the future.
agree.
So I think it's awesome. All the, meetups and networking. I mean, that's been one of the biggest ways I've grown, is just networking and meeting other guys in the industry. I mean, I can't tell you how many people on Instagram or little meetups like this. I mean, that's really where a lot of the growth and like mindset change, I think, occurs.
I agree. It's growth and mindset change. I agree. It's because like the nuts and the bolts of the daily process or the software or whatever, like the software at the end of the day is just a logical system with buttons and stuff, and like it's how you show up and use it or leverage it that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And like these regional meetups, I love when I see conversations happening with like maybe one contractor saying he's struggling to get his guys to clock in and wants to blame it on the app or whatever. Then another guy is using the same app saying like, listen, it's not the app, it's you talking to your guys.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just like, it's just interesting how these two worlds of, I don't know, reality and like the systems kind of have to mesh.
Yeah.
And like, that's one of the big advantages I see with a mentor.
Yeah.
Or like in these local meetups that really helps, is because you see how someone else is using the same equipment and trucks and whatnot that you are, but leveraging it in a slightly different way for a better result or whatever. Like that's where, because buying that tilt rotator or getting that software, sure, can be tremendously helpful, but it's not the whole story.
Yeah.
You need to know how to leverage it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so many times we need that moment of self-reflection to be like, yeah, okay, I need to make some changes.
Yeah, it's hard to step back sometimes and realize that, but so.
Yeah, well, cool, man. I just want to say thank you for being a part of the SynkedUP crew and for putting your faith and trust in us for your business's operating system with SynkedUP, and it means a lot to me. It's not something I take lightly, and I want to be here to invest in you guys and support you on your journey to success.
Yeah, super excited for many years to come and grow together, and I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, okay, well, let's go over there and meet the rest of the guys at the meetup.
Awesome.
And where can people find you?
So we're on Instagram, Haven Outdoors TN, and then we're soon to be on YouTube. That's in the works. That'll be Haven Outdoors TN as well, and then Facebook, and we got a website, havenoutdoorstn.com.
Okay.
So
awesome. Thanks, Hunter.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you.